It's hard to believe that Home Alone, 1990, and Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, debuted over 6 decades ago, becoming holiday staples for generations. The mischievous Kevin McCallister, the bumbling Wet Bandits, and the unforgettable supporting cast left a lasting mark on pop culture. But where are they now in 2025? Some have continued thriving in Hollywood, others have stepped away from the spotlight, and a few have faced personal struggles or tragedy. Join us as we take a look at their lives today and the legacies they've left behind. John Hurd played Peter McCallister in Home Alone, 1990, at the age of 44, portraying Kevin's well-meaning but often inattentive father. Despite early success in Big, 1988, and Cutter's Way, 1981, Hurd's career was inconsistent, with sporadic supporting roles in TV and film, never achieving the recognition he hoped for. His personal life was marked by turbulence, 3 failed marriages, including a short-lived union with Margot Kidder, and a deeply contentious relationship with actress Melissa Leo, with whom he had a son, Max. Their bitter custody battle lasted years, and in 2016, Max tragically died of an overdose, leaving Hurd devastated. He struggled with alcohol and legal troubles, including multiple arrests. In July 2017, after undergoing back surgery, he was found dead in a hotel room from a heart attack at 71, alone and largely forgotten by the industry that once embraced him. John Candy played Gus Polinski in Home Alone, 1990, at the age of 40, playing the kind-hearted polka king of the Midwest who offers Kate McCallister a ride. A beloved comedian, Candy's career soared with classics like Planes, Trains and Automobiles, 1987, and Uncle Buck, 1989, but his jovial exterior masked deep struggles. A workaholic, Candy took on exhausting schedules to provide for his wife and 2 children, yet the stress only exacerbated his lifelong battles with anxiety and weight issues. His unhealthy lifestyle, combined with a fear of being forgotten in Hollywood, led him to accept projects he disliked, further increasing his stress. In 1994, while filming Wagons East in Mexico, Candy suffered a fatal heart attack in his sleep at just 43. His sudden death left fans and friends heartbroken, with many believing his relentless workload and emotional burdens contributed to his untimely passing. Roberts Blossom portrayed Old Man Marley in Home Alone, 1990, at the age of 66, delivering one of the film's most touching moments when his estranged family finally reunites with him. A respected stage and character actor, Blossom found success in films like Deranged, 1974, and Christine, 1983, yet his career never brought him widespread fame or financial stability. His personal life was marked by loneliness. His wife, Beverly, passed away in 1982, leaving him to live out his remaining decades in solitude. He withdrew from Hollywood, choosing a quiet life writing poetry, though he struggled with health issues in his later years. Diagnosed with cerebrovascular disease, he became frail and dependent on others, a stark contrast to the independence he had maintained most of his life. He passed away on July 8, 2011, at the age of 87, a tragic fate for a man who once delivered such a poignant performance about reconciliation and family. Bill Irwin played the man in the airport. He began filming Home Alone in 1990 at the age of 76. His character, a fellow traveler who briefly interacts with Kate McCallister, was fleeting but memorable. Irwin's career was filled with similar small but impactful roles, particularly as Sid Fields in Seinfeld, for which he earned an Emmy nomination. Despite his long list of credits, he was never a household name, always overshadowed by bigger stars. His personal life was relatively stable. He was married to Fran McLachlan for over 40 years, and they had 4 children, but his later years were marred by declining health. As he aged, he faced multiple health complications, including a debilitating struggle with heart disease. His final years were spent largely in seclusion, unable to work, watching as the industry he had dedicated his life to moved on without him. On December 29, 2010, he died at the age of 96. His passing, much like his life, went largely unnoticed. Billie Bird appeared as the woman in the airport. She started filming Home Alone in 1990 at the age of 82. Her character, though minor, brought warmth and a touch of humor to the chaotic airport scene. Off-screen, Bird had a long and impressive career, spanning silent films to television sitcoms, yet she remained largely unrecognized by the industry. Her personal life was filled with heartbreak. Her husband, Edwin Sellon, died in 1966, leaving her widowed for the last 36 years of her life. She never remarried, instead throwing herself into work, taking whatever roles she could get. As the years passed, she began to struggle with memory loss, eventually being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. The cruel irony of an actress losing her ability to recall lines, or even recognize loved ones, was a slow, painful decline. By the time she passed away on November 27, 2002, at the age of 94, she had faded from public consciousness. Jerry Becker portrayed Officer No. 1 in Home Alone, starting filming in 1990 at the age of 39. A character of quiet diligence, Officer No. 1 is a standard police officer, neither heroic nor incompetent, merely doing his job in the face of a chaotic situation. Jerry Becker's career spanned numerous roles in film and television, yet despite his talent, he remained largely unrecognized, often cast in minor or supporting roles that never brought him the fame he might have hoped for. He worked tirelessly but was overshadowed by bigger names, struggling to make a lasting impression in Hollywood. His personal life was marked by solitude. He married once but endured a bitter divorce that left him emotionally and financially drained. He had no children, and his later years were spent in relative isolation, watching younger actors surpass him. His declining health added to his suffering. He battled complications from diabetes, a disease that slowly sapped his strength. He passed away on April 13, 2019, at the age of 68. Eddie Bracken portrayed Mr. Duncan in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, starting his role in 1992 at the age of 77. As the benevolent owner of Duncan's toy chest, Mr. Duncan is a warm-hearted character, embodying the generosity and kindness of the Christmas spirit. Bracken, in stark contrast, spent much of his later years battling the disillusionment of an actor who had once known the golden age of Hollywood but found himself relegated to nostalgia-driven bit parts. Once a comedic star of the 1940s, he watched his fame slip through his fingers as the industry moved on without him. His personal life was no less tumultuous, though he remained married to his wife. The strain of his dwindling career and financial instability made for a challenging domestic life. He suffered from multiple health issues in his final years, undergoing surgery that would ultimately lead to his demise. On November 14, 2002, he passed away at the age of 87 due to complications from the procedure. Peter Siragusa played the lineman in Home Alone, beginning his role in 1990 at the age of 35. The lineman is an unassuming character, a blue-collar worker restoring power to the McCallister household without any awareness of the greater chaos unfolding around him. Siragusa, much like his character, remained in the background for most of his career. Though he secured work in film and television, he never broke into leading roles, often voicing animated characters rather than appearing on screen. His marriage, while lasting, was fraught with difficulties, strained by his career disappointments and the pressure of providing for his family. He had 2 children, but their relationships were distant, as his work kept him away for long stretches. His later years were overshadowed by illness. A sudden and severe ailment took hold, rendering him unable to continue working. He passed away on October 11, 2022, at the age of 67. Rip Taylor played celeb No. 1 in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, beginning his role in 1992 at the age of 61. His character, though brief, brought a touch of flamboyance and humor to the film. In real life, Taylor was a larger-than-life figure, known for his wild persona and over-the-top comedic style, yet beneath the glitz, he wrestled with loneliness and inner turmoil. His career, though lengthy, was marked by typecasting, limiting him to a caricature of his own eccentricity. Despite his public exuberance, his personal life was deeply troubled, his relationships were fleeting, and he never found long-term companionship. Struggling with depression in his later years, he faced declining health and a growing sense of irrelevance in an industry that no longer had a place for his brand of comedy. In 2019, an epileptic seizure brought his tumultuous life to an abrupt end. He died on October 6, 2019, at the age of 88. Macaulay Culkin starred as Kevin McCallister in Home Alone, beginning filming in 1990 at the age of 10 and reprising the role in 1992 at the age of 12. Kevin is the ultimate child hero, witty, resourceful, and fearless in the face of danger. Thrust into stardom at an early age, he became one of the most famous child actors in the world, yet his success came at a heavy price. His parents, locked in a bitter battle over his earnings, treated him like a commodity rather than a son. The pressure of fame and the toxicity of Hollywood led him to withdraw from acting, retreating into a life of seclusion and personal struggles. His romantic relationships, including a high-profile marriage that ended in divorce, were marked by instability. Though he never had children, he remained distant from his own family, haunted by the scars of his childhood. In 2025, at the age of 44, he remains a relic of Hollywood's darker side, a former child star forever trapped in the shadow of his most iconic role. Joe Pesci took on the role of Harry, one of the bumbling burglars in Home Alone, beginning filming in 1990 at the age of 47. Harry is characterized by his tough demeanor and relentless determination, often leading him into comically painful traps set by young Kevin McCallister. Pesci's career, spanning decades, saw him in iconic roles in films like Goodfellas and Casino. However, behind the scenes, his personal life was marred by turbulence. Married and divorced 3 times, his third marriage to actress Claudia Harrow from 1988 to 1992 was particularly tumultuous. The union produced a daughter, Tiffany, but post-divorce, Harrow was convicted in 2012 for attempting to hire a hitman to murder her second husband, stuntman Garrett Warren. Additionally, during the filming of Home Alone, Pesci sustained serious burns to his scalp during a stunt gone wrong, adding physical injury to his list of personal challenges. As of 2025, Pesci is 82 years old, leading a reclusive life away from the limelight. Catherine O'Hara played Kate McCallister, Kevin's frantic yet devoted mother, starting filming in 1990 at the age of 36. Kate is remembered for her desperate journey to reunite with her son, a performance that resonated with audiences. O'Hara became a comedy icon, starring in Beetlejuice and later gaining newfound fame with Schitt's Creek. However, despite her professional triumphs, her personal life was not without pain. She married production designer Bo Welch in 1992, and they had 2 sons, Matthew and Luke, but the demands of Hollywood put a strain on their family life. For years, she juggled work and motherhood, often feeling guilt over missed milestones and long absences. In her later years, she struggled with depression, feeling disconnected from her past success, and retreated from public life. By 2025, at 71 years old, she has largely stepped away from acting, focusing on her family. Daniel Stern portrayed Marv, the dim-witted yet enthusiastic burglar, beginning filming in 1990 at the age of 33. Marv is the comic relief of the duo, always finding himself on the receiving end of Kevin's traps, yet never learning from his mistakes. Stern had a thriving career in the 80s and 90s, starring in City Slickers and narrating The Wonder Years. Despite this success, Hollywood was not kind to him in later years. Stern was blacklisted after calling out inappropriate behavior on a 90s sitcom set, which led to job losses and financial strain. Frustrated with the industry, he left acting to become a farmer in California, raising cattle and growing tangerines, but even this venture faced hardships due to droughts and economic downturns. His personal life was relatively stable compared to others, married to Laura Matos with 3 children, yet the scars of his career struggles never fully healed. As of 2025, Stern is 67 years old, still living on his farm, largely forgotten by Hollywood. Angela Goethals played Linny McCallister, Kevin's sarcastic older sister, beginning filming in 1990 at the age of 13. Linny is the quintessential older sibling, constantly mocking Kevin yet showing concern in subtle ways. Goethals had a promising start in Hollywood, appearing in Jerry Maguire and various television roles, but unlike many of her co-stars, she stepped away from acting in the 2000s. Struggles with anxiety and self-doubt plagued her career, leading her to abandon Hollywood in search of stability. She married in her early 30s and had 2 children, Emma and Jack, but her marriage fell apart due to infidelity and financial problems, leading to a bitter custody battle. The stress of the divorce pushed her into a downward spiral, and she was hospitalized for mental health issues multiple times. As of 2025, Goethals is 48 years old, living quietly in a small town, trying to rebuild her life away from the entertainment industry, though the echoes of her past fame and personal failures continue to haunt her. Michael C. Morana portrayed Jeff McCallister, Kevin's teasing but ultimately caring older brother, beginning filming in 1990 at the age of 13. Jeff's role reflected the classic dynamic of an older sibling who delights in tormenting his younger brother but harbors an underlying affection. Morana briefly found fame in The Adventures of Pete and Pete, but his acting career quickly faded, leaving him struggling to find stability. He transitioned into behind-the-scenes work as an electrician in the film industry, but the change never brought him real fulfillment. His marriage ended in a bitter divorce, leaving him estranged from his ex-wife and their only son, whom he rarely sees. Over the years, he faced bouts of depression, financial struggles, and a battle with alcohol dependency. Now, at 47 in 2025, he continues working in film production, far from the childhood fame that once promised a bright future, his name now only remembered by nostalgic fans of Home Alone. Devin Rotrey played Buzz McCallister, Kevin's obnoxious and bullying older brother, beginning filming in 1990 at the age of 13. Buzz is remembered for his loud, brash personality and his constant tormenting of Kevin, though deep down, he has a protective side. Rotrey's career never reached great heights after Home Alone, with sporadic roles in indie films and guest appearances on TV. His personal life was far more troubled. He struggled with substance abuse, a failed marriage, and legal troubles. In 2021, he was arrested for allegedly assaulting his girlfriend, an incident that damaged his already fragile reputation. His struggles with alcoholism led to financial ruin, and by the mid-2020s, he was barely making ends meet. As of 2025, Rotrey is 48 years old, attempting to stay sober and repair his shattered reputation, but he remains largely ostracized from Hollywood, a tragic reminder of how early success can fade into lifelong struggle. Larry Hankin played Officer Balzac in Home Alone, beginning filming in 1990 at the age of 53. Officer Balzac is a disinterested and mildly sarcastic policeman who treats the McCallister family's concerns with indifference. Despite a long career in Hollywood, Hankin was forever relegated to minor roles, never achieving the recognition he craved. He struggled financially, often living paycheck to paycheck, and his attempts at writing and directing failed to gain traction. His personal life was equally turbulent. A brief marriage ended in divorce, and he never had children, leaving him to navigate old age alone. In his later years, he battled declining health and the loneliness of being forgotten by the industry. Now, in 2025, at 87 years old, he lives a reclusive life, rarely making public appearances, a shadow of the eccentric actor who once brought life to so many small yet memorable characters. Kristen Minter played Heather McCallister, Kevin's responsible and organized cousin, beginning filming in 1990 at the age of 25. Heather takes charge in the chaotic holiday preparations, showcasing a sense of control and maturity beyond the rest of her family. Minter's career had early promise, with roles in ER and several films, but she never achieved leading lady status. Hollywood's brutal nature left her struggling for work, taking sporadic guest roles that never amounted to sustained success. She never married, having endured several failed relationships that left her disillusioned with love, and she never had children. The frustration of an unfulfilled career and personal loneliness took its toll, leading to periods of depression and withdrawal from the public eye. Now, at 59 in 2025, she lives in relative obscurity, her name resurfacing only in nostalgic retrospectives, a reminder of a career that never reached the heights she had hoped for. Senda Moses played Tracy McCallister, Kevin's supportive but relatively quiet cousin, beginning filming in 1990 at the age of 17. Tracy is kind and family-oriented but largely blends into the background of the chaotic McCallister household. Moses experienced a similar fate in Hollywood, constantly overlooked, despite her talent. She worked steadily in minor television roles but never achieved mainstream fame, leading to years of self-doubt and professional disappointment. She never married, struggling to maintain relationships due to her increasing reclusiveness, and she has no children. The loneliness of an unfulfilled career took its toll, leading to long periods of isolation and disillusionment. Now, at 51 in 2025, she lives a quiet life, far from the spotlight, only remembered when nostalgic audiences revisit Home Alone, a faded figure from a past era of Hollywood. Kieran Culkin played Fuller McCallister, Kevin's mischievous cousin, beginning filming in 1990 at the age of 8. Fuller is remembered for his playful antics and notorious bedwetting, which he embraces with an impish grin. Unlike many of his Home Alone co-stars, Culkin eventually found major success with Succession, but his personal life remained deeply complicated. Raised in a highly dysfunctional family, he carried the emotional scars of an abusive childhood, making intimacy and trust difficult. His marriage ended in divorce, and though he has children, his struggle with emotional detachment made fatherhood a challenge. Despite professional accolades, he has battled lifelong anxiety and depression, often questioning whether he would ever escape the shadow of his troubled past. Now, at 42 in 2025, he remains a celebrated actor, but behind the success lies a man still wrestling with the ghosts of his youth. Terry Snell played Aunt Leslie in Home Alone in 1990 at the age of 46. Aunt Leslie was one of the few warm and caring members of the McCallister family, offering brief moments of kindness amid the chaos. Despite this memorable role, Terry's acting career never flourished. She continued working in small television roles and regional theater productions but never found lasting success. Off-screen, her personal life was marked by disappointment. She married young, hoping for stability, but the relationship soured, ending in a painful divorce. She never remarried or had children, leaving her with few close family ties. In later years, her health deteriorated, arthritis made movement difficult, and her eyesight worsened, forcing her into a quiet, isolated existence. Now 81, she lives in a modest assisted living home, where the echoes of her brief time in the spotlight remain one of the few bright memories in a life that never quite unfolded the way she had hoped. Jerry Bamman portrayed Uncle Frank McCallister in Home Alone in 1990 at the age of 49. Uncle Frank was a sarcastic, miserly character who provided comedic but often cutting moments in the film. Jerry's acting career had its peaks, especially in theater, but his on-screen presence dwindled after the Home Alone films. While he worked steadily, true stardom eluded him. His personal life was filled with turbulence. His marriage ended in a bitter divorce, leading to an estrangement from his only son, who blamed him for years of emotional neglect. In his later years, financial troubles and poor health, including diabetes and heart issues, left him struggling. Now 83, he resides in a small nursing home, where he rarely receives visitors. Once part of a beloved holiday classic, he now spends his days reminiscing about a career that, despite its promising start, never brought him the recognition or happiness he long desired. Ally Sheedy portrayed the ticket agent in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, beginning the role at the age of 30. Her character, though minor, reflects the efficiency and professionalism of airport staff. Sheedy had once been an 80s teen icon with The Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire, but by the 1990s, her career had lost momentum. She turned to independent films, but her struggle with addiction derailed her professional life. A tumultuous marriage to actor David Lansbury ended in divorce, leaving her emotionally shattered. They had one child, Beckett, who later came out as transgender, a journey that Sheedy supported but also found emotionally challenging given her own unstable past. Sheedy battled depression and substance abuse for years, leading to periods of seclusion and professional stagnation. Although she attempted comebacks, the industry largely moved on. Now 62, she works as an acting teacher, living in relative obscurity, haunted by what could have been. Tim Curry played the concierge in Home Alone 2 in 1992 at the age of 46. His character was sharp, suspicious, and ultimately outwitted by Kevin, a small but memorable role in a career full of larger-than-life performances. Tim was a brilliant actor, known for the Rocky Horror Picture Show, It, and Clue, yet tragedy struck in 2012 when he suffered a severe stroke. The once charismatic star, known for his commanding presence and booming voice, was left partially paralyzed, unable to continue his career as before. He never married or had children, and while he still received fan admiration, his once thriving social life faded. Dependent on caregivers and bound to a wheelchair, his days became filled with physical therapy and reflection on a life that, while celebrated, was now far removed from the vibrant energy he once exuded. Now 78, he remains largely out of the public eye, his legacy living on in film, but his reality defined by the cruel fate of declining health. Jimmy J.J. Walker played celeb number 3 in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, filming in 1992 at 45. Though his role in the film was minor, Walker had already experienced the highs and lows of Hollywood as the breakout star of Good Times, where his catchphrase "Dynamite" made him famous. However, that very catchphrase became his curse. Walker was forever typecast and struggled to find work outside of comedic roles. He attempted a return to stand-up, but the industry had changed, and younger audiences saw him as a relic of the past. Walker never married and has no children, often admitting he never wanted a serious relationship, but his loneliness became more apparent as he aged. Financial struggles followed him into his later years, forcing him to continue performing in small comedy clubs and living frugally. His health also deteriorated due to diabetes and heart disease. Now 77, he remains active in the comedy circuit, though largely forgotten by the industry that once embraced him. Brenda Fricker portrayed the lonely and kind-hearted pigeon lady in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York in 1992 at the age of 47. The character, shrouded in sadness, deeply resonated with Brenda's own struggles. Though an Oscar-winning actress, her career faltered in the later years, with Hollywood offering few meaningful roles to aging women. Personally, her life was filled with heartbreak. She was briefly married, but the marriage collapsed under the weight of her worsening depression and drinking habits, which developed as a means of coping with lifelong isolation. She never had children, and as she aged, she spoke candidly about her fear of dying alone. Health complications, including arthritis and memory loss, made her final years a struggle. By 2025, at 80 years old, she lives in quiet solitude, With only a few distant relatives checking in, her days spent reminiscing about a time when the world still paid attention to her. Lee Zimmerman portrayed the fashion model in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, filming in 1992 at 22. Her character, a striking and self-assured model, made a fleeting yet memorable appearance in the film. A trained dancer and actress, Zimmerman had early success on Broadway and in television but struggled to transition into major film roles, often typecast as an attractive extra rather than a leading lady. She married musician Dominic Allen, and they had a daughter, Kayli, but long separations due to their careers strained their relationship. Zimmerman's struggles extended beyond Hollywood. She was diagnosed with a degenerative spinal condition that forced her to retire from performing prematurely. The chronic pain and sense of lost potential left her battling depression, exacerbated by a lack of financial security after leaving the industry. Now 55, she lives a quiet life in the UK, away from the entertainment industry. Rob Schneider played the bellman in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, filming in 1992 at the age of 29. His character, a suspicious yet bumbling hotel employee, provided comic relief in Kevin's misadventure at the Plaza Hotel. Schneider's career soared in the late 90s with Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, but rapidly declined due to poorly received films. Despite his comedic success, he struggled with industry respect, often criticized for relying on lowbrow humor. His personal life was tumultuous. His first marriage ended in divorce, and although he later married television producer Patricia Azarkoya. He has 3 children, including singer Elle King, but their relationship remained distant due to his absence during her upbringing. In later years, Schneider faced health issues, including chronic pain and reported neurological problems. Now 61, he continues doing stand-up but lives in relative obscurity, far from his past comedic stardom. Dana Ivey portrayed the desk clerk in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York in 1992 at the age of 51. A respected theater actress, she was known for her refined performances, but mainstream fame always eluded her. Home Alone 2 was just another minor role in a career that had more critical success than financial stability. She dedicated her life to acting, never marrying, never having children, always prioritizing her craft. But as the years went by, the roles disappeared, and so did the friends who once filled her life. She found herself increasingly alone, her name known only to the most devoted theater aficionados. In 2025, at 83, she lives quietly in a small apartment, with little contact from the outside world. The industry she loved so much has moved on, leaving her with only fading playbills and a lifetime of memories that no one seems to remember but her. Who's your favorite character from Home Alone? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.